This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Okay, fine. So have you gone through the demo, right? Once again, have you saw that you made any time for that?
Actually not. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, but it's fine. It's fine. I mean, because yesterday, it's still like I because we took some time yesterday, so that's fine for me. Yeah.
Okay, okay, fine. So I think you are clear with yesterday's topic, right? So
Yeah,
what
yeah,
we
yeah,
discussed. So
yeah, yeah,
now,
yeah, yeah. Mm.
are you able to see my screen, right? You
Yes.
can able to
Yeah.
see my
Yes.
screen.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I'll just give a small recap what we discussed yesterday, and
Okay.
like a clarity, what is a class, what is a method, and we'll just again start doing a simple program. And
Okay. 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 Uh. Okay. Yeah.
and please let me know if you have any issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
so generally what I have discussed yesterday is nothing but what is a variable and a data type, right? So so you can see this image. So here, so whenever you want to represent, for example, I just want to store the age or I want to store the name of the person, right? So where I need to store, I need to store it in the computer. But for that, I cannot write a number, right? So for that number, I need to specify what is that name. So that age is nothing but, so here if I say that is nothing but my variable name, right? And here int is nothing but your data type, what we discussed yesterday, and the value that I'm giving 20, and I'm just storing, so that 20 will be stored in your RAM, reserved memory for that variable. So you may know this basic terminologies, but I'm just giving a small recap. So since similarly you just want to store, uh, so similarly you want to store a name of a person, but you write that string name. In Java, string is nothing but your class. In C, you have a char. So you have an idea of C language, Mike?
Yes. Yes. I know some C language. Yeah. Like a very long time ago. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Similar, there are a lot of features. For example, when you learn Java, so when you are going to learn any other programming language, you can relate a lot of things. Similarly, when you have knowledge of C, it's even there are a lot of things which are related because
Mm.
they
Yeah.
have introduced, they will be developing some other language based on the previous one, right? And what are the drawbacks they have, they will be overcome. So I think we have discussed yesterday drawback, and I think you are clear, right? So you have in whenever it comes in assembly language, you don't have any method concept. So for that reason, the people moved to procedure language where you have some method. So in that method, what they done, they written the code that you write in assembly language, and they moved every code to a method level, and where you can able to execute that a number of times. Here what happened, your code reusability got achieved,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
We have discussed that yesterday. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're clear about yesterday's class, right? You don't have any
Yeah.
doubts, right?
Yeah. I have one question actually.
Tell me.
Yes.
So
Yes.
before
I just
starting every day,
mm, for
we'll
my
start
career.
with,
Yeah. Sure.
uh,
For my curiosity, like because I think you mentioned yesterday about the security of different programming language. So, basically, because now we have variety of like program language. For example, like you mentioned the C, or
mm,
like today we have like Java, C sharp, right, or C++. And
yes,
also I know there was some I used like a VB scripting,
yes,
like some time ago. So because I think you talked about the security part. So
yes, yes.
we like among those languages, like which one is more secure? Like so the like Java is the most secureable. Like just
Yes, yes. So compared to C, your Java is more secured actually. So there is a concept called pointers that was there in C. So what happens? What is the concept of pointers in C is nothing but you can able to access. For example, I have a value int some a equals to some 5 is there. So some 5 or 7 is there. So what happens in case of C, you can able to get that by using the pointer concept. So what is the meaning of pointer is nothing but, so this A will be stored in somewhere address, right? So for example, that A will be stored in some 2001. So this is nothing but my address. So here you can able to access that variable by using the address also. In case of C, there is a concept of pointers, and you can able to get that value by when you know that address also. But in case of Java, there is a no concept of pointers, so you cannot able to get that value. So it is like there is no call by reference. There is only call by value. I can only get that when I know. I'll be calling it only by the variable name. So I cannot call any variable or any method or anything by its address. So, but in case of C, you have that address concept, right? So not only this, there are a lot of reasons why there was security. Even I'll just go through that, like, and I'll come back to you more on that. So I compared to C, where Java is more secure, and you have many other languages, but I'm talking about C and Java. When I compare both, your Java is more secure.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Are you clear, Tanya? Sorry, are you
Yeah,
clear,
yeah,
Mike?
yes,
No.
yes, yes. Mm.
And so, for example, when you want to store a name, you will be writing it in a string, as I said. So here in C, you have a cat actually. So you do it as a group of characters. But here you have a concept called string, and what is the purpose of string? We'll see it more in that. So why they have designed string as a class, and Java, string has a lot of role to play actually. So you will be using string in more in many examples actually. So you understood what is a data type,
Yeah, yeah,
you
data paper.
what is
Yes. Mm.
variable, and what is a value, whatever the value
Yes,
that you,
yes,
right?
yes.
And if you see, so there are, as I said you, right? So there are two parts that you do. So one is your declaration as well as your assignment. So if you see in this above case, I have just declared that variable, so it's like in A and B, but I have not given what is the values of that. So that values I'll be giving in the later stage. So if you see, A and B are nothing but my variable names, and what I'm giving the value, some literal I'm giving a value, I'm giving over here. So this is nothing but your assignment. And there is a third case, that what I said, you can do that initialization and assignment at only single line. If you see that for in C variable, what they have done initialization as well as assignment at only single line. So for C, what is that assignment value will be your 123 plus 145. That value will be stored directly in C, and you are declaring that C at same point of time. So you understood, right? I can do declaration and assignment at one point, at one line, or I can declare somewhere and I can assign that in later point of time. And that is, as I
Yeah.
said, you want to ask something, Mike?
No, 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 it's fine.
Okay, you understood what is declaration, what is assignment.
Yes, yes.
And so if you see, as I told you yesterday, there is a method, right? And how you write a method. So if you see, this is a simple writing of a method, how you write an add method or something. As I told you yesterday, if I want to write some add method. So if I want to write an add method, how I'll be writing void add method. As I told you, this void is nothing but my return type. So if I'm not returning anything, I'll just put it as a void. And this is nothing but the name of the method. And this is nothing but a brackets where you write a parameters. So, and this is the opening of the method and closing of the method, the same that I have showed in an image form. So you have a public. So this is nothing but your modifier. So we'll have the discussing that concept of modifiers. So you have 4 access specifiers and access modifiers. Don't worry. So this is nothing but your public. So this is also one of the modifier. So we'll discuss that later. And if you see, this is a return type. So if I have a return type, so after completing that execution of method, definitely I need to return something. So you have this max is nothing but your name of the method. And if you see in this add method, I don't have any parameters here, but here I have a parameters. So these are nothing but the parameters, and this is nothing but my body of the method. So this is a common thing when you do it in C or Java or any program. So they have not changed the concept of method calling. Whatever there in C, the same thing that you are using in Java. But there are a lot of other concepts in that. And if you see, they are returning. So if this, so they are just, this is a method which will find the max number in between x and y. So this is a simple logic, right? How you find a max between two variables. If this is greater, you will return that max. If y is greater, you will return that max. A simple logic, right? Here,
Yeah.
you know this operators, right? If else, these things you were aware or not, Mike? If else of conditional operator.
Yeah. I know like that. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I know.
you know, so if there is an execution of if, the else will not execute. If there is an if whenever the if statement will fails only, your else will
Yeah.
execute. So you have if else,
Yeah.
else if
Mm.
you have different kind of conditional statements, you say this. So to do the
Yeah.
programming language, you use this. I think you may aware. So if we'll have one more class on conditional statements.
Yeah.
And
Actually, so actually, Suya, I'm more like familiar with the, VB script, like
okay.
C. When like a very long time ago, I like in the school I learned C, but after that, I never use it.
So we'll that
Like
we will be
yeah,
using
but
it. Don't.
I used the like VB script like for a little for some time, so that's why. But
Okay.
like the basic programming, like how to say the condition, like the variable rules are very similar. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So I got I got your like your point, like if else, yeah, some.
Yes, yes. So so this is what is this is nothing but even whatever the point that you are not clear, Mike. So I'll be telling you something. It may be, so if I say data type, you are not, don't know what is data type. If I say if and else, so you have the some doubt. So I just want to explain if and else more clearly. I'll be ready because it's one on one. So please, I am telling you, please be free to ask anything that you want. It is not like
Okay,
I'm not
sure.
show that whether you I what happens, I'll be in a perspective that it's not only if and else, but when I'm expecting some, when I'm telling some concept, sometimes what happens, I'll be sometimes in perspective that that concept, and I'll not explain in detail. So what happens if you say that you don't understand it, I'll explain that, right?
Okay, sure. Okay, yeah.
I'll not be doing that at the initial time, because what happens, if I tell something that you know already, you may get bored, right? I should not be
Yeah.
extending that. For
Yeah,
example,
that's mm,
if you know what is an execution, how if and else works, I should not be telling you that and wasting your time, right? So when you are not aware, I'll be telling it.
sure.
So it's open that if you want more explanation of this if and else, I'll explain it.
Okay, sure.
You want, or shall I? This is fine. You want
This is
how?
fine. Yeah, this is fine. I will.
Oh,
Yeah, please. Yeah, more. I will. Yeah, as you mentioned, if something is I cannot understand, then I will like ask you. Yeah.
yes. So this is a simple, and so when it now will come to a Java. So where this all these concepts which are present in C, the same concepts will be there in even in Java. So the first thing that you will be under in Java, you need to understand what is class and what is object. As I told you earlier, but I'm just trying to tell you in a theoretical presentations. So class is something, a virtual thing. So where it is not a real entity, where you represent an objects. So for example, here in this example, I just want to design a phone. So Apple is nothing but a class. Why I'm saying it is a class? Because Apple have its blueprint. So if you see an Apple phone and some other Android phone, you have differently. You will have different specifications, different. It will have its own brand. So whenever it releases its brand, also it will, or it what it will do, it will be, it's going to add some more features, but the look and that functionalities will be there, right? So your Apple is something, a virtual thing. So you use n series of apples, but the working will be faster or this, but it is some unique, right? Your Android phone is has some unique. So that is to represent that virtual thing. You have a class, and your object is a real entity where what your object have. So what your object will have your data members. So if your color, price, and the model number. So what all these properties that your phone is having, that I'll say them as your data members, or I can say them are nothing but your properties or states. Whatever you say, it will be same. 1 minute, Daniel.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, Mike, what happens, So before starting your class, I'll be having a class with Daniel. So I'll finish that class and I'll come to your class. So my automatic, I'm
No
calling you.
problem. No problem. No problem. No worry. Yeah. You have another. He's also learning Java with you.
Yes, he's also learning Java. I was
That's good.
for him also
Okay.
1-to-1. So
Yeah,
before he
Mm.
literally will be 7:30 or 8, I'll just finish his class and I'll join to you. So I always tell him Daniel, and again
No
you
problem. No problem.
don't think I spell wrong of your name. Fine.
Yeah. No problem. No problem. Yeah.
Okay. So it will go in few classes. Maybe when I'm telling classes to Daniel, I'll tell Mike.
Yeah.
Maybe. So uh, so if you see. So here your data member. So whatever the properties, price, mobile, model number, or the color, or the your futures, and everything that you say is nothing but your data members, or I can say them are state, or I can say them are properties. So what are the properties that your mobile have? That is nothing but your properties that your mobile, I can say them as data members. And what your object does, what your mobile do, you can able to do a calling, you can able to do normal call or a video call, you can do the chat. So all these are nothing but the functions or the actions that your mobile performs. So that are nothing but member functions. So you can take a similar another example of a class and an object. So if you see, you take any model, right? So if you take a Benz or Ferrari or whatever, whatever the car you take, so that car will have this same design, right? So but the objects will be different. So having the four wheels, so this is nothing but a blueprint will be same, and you have a different types of object, and inside an object you have that the properties. So I think you are understand what is a class and what is an object, right? So
Yes. Just one question, Suya.
mm,
So we see, let's for example, example for the iPhone.
yes,
So like let's say the function is, I think a function is how to say that, is similar, is like equals to method, right? They are like the same. Can
yes,
we? Right? They are like the same. How to say? They are doing the same activity, like, right? Like a method or function.
yes. So what you say, method is something that you call in Java. Function is a terminology that you call in C.
Yeah, but they
But
are, it's like the same. How to say that? They are play the same rule in the language, right?
yes, the different whatever what is a method or a function is nothing but it is the one where it will perform, it will have some logic, and it will perform some action. So but the
Okay.
name is different, that's it. In
Okay.
C, in
Mm.
C they name it as a function. In Java they are calling it as a method. But both they do the same. For example, you have an art function and method. Everything is
Yeah,
the same.
they are
In
doing the same thing. Okay. Thank you.
you have a JavaScript also, they say it as a function. But what is the function they do? They write a logic. So if you have an iPhone, what an iPhone do? It's function. What you do in function, you write some action. So what your phone do? You do if your phone do calling your phone in by your phone, you do chatting. So whatever the actions that you perform in the phone, that is nothing but your function. And what are the properties that your phone is having? The color, model number, that are nothing but properties. So that is nothing but your state.
Okay.
So whatever the object that you take, that object will have three things, Mike. One is your identity, one is behavior, and one more is state. So If you see, so what is the state? Represents the data of an object. We have seen it for the example of iPhone, right? So as I told you, these are nothing but your states, iPhone or any phone. So color, price, model number are nothing but the states, because it represents the data of an object. So what your object is having. So next is nothing but behavior, function, method. Everything is same. So represents the behavior of which so as I told you, it's like a deposit with the that actions of an object that are nothing but your behavior, methods, or functions. So your identity is something, you can read that definition, right? So your more name, that your class name is nothing but your identity. Right? Sorry.
Yeah.
So your class name is nothing but your identity. So here the car is nothing but the identity. Your apple is nothing but your identity. So if you see, Ian, I have given, there are some examples that you see a person, that name of a person and what he do. He just try to read the actions that we perform, that are nothing but the behaviors, and what we are having, that are nothing but your qualifications and everything that you call it as the states. You can see that examples. If you want, you can just, it's like getting a clarity what is a state and what is a behavior and what is. I think it's clear, right?
Yeah.
So if I take an employee object, if I'll take a class employee, Mike, can you tell me the states and so here employee is nothing but my identity. I told you this is nothing but the name is nothing my identity. Can you
Yeah.
tell me what is the state and what will be the identity of an employee?
State. I think a state can be state working. Can be a state working.
No.
No?
What I told you, state is something, the properties that employees have. But what working will be your action what an employee do, right?
Oh, actually, sorry.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right. Employ. I think a state can be employed. Can be a state, right? Employed.
sorry.
Like get hired, like hired. Can be a
Uh-huh.
state, right?
No. No.
No.
For example, for an employee, what the employee will have, what identities that employee will have, what are the properties that employee will have?
Yeah, for the for the identity, it can be like employee ID, can be, right?
So that is nothing. Employee, so employee is nothing but identity, as I told you. So state is nothing but what you are telling is nothing but not the identity. It will be the your state, right? In
Yeah.
ID. That's what
Yeah,
I'm telling.
ID. So ID is identity, right? Can be an identity ID.
It
And
can be the identity, but your ID will show your. So this is the specific thing. But when you talk in concept of an object level, so what I'm telling, employee ID. So it will be an identity, but here I'm telling this is nothing but your state. String name is nothing but the state. What it is nothing but properties that employee is having. So if, for example, you are the employee, right? So what are the properties that you have? You will have address, you will have name, you will have your ID. So these are nothing but the properties.
yes, I agree with that. Yeah.
So your employee is there, right? So that is nothing but your object or your identity.
Yes.
Name.
So
So,
so
name makes,
in this case, employee ID and the name are all property, right? They are all
yes,
belong. Yeah,
yes,
but for state, I think for state is a different. State can be like a hired, something like that, or like
these are nothing but these are properties, right? I'm telling you, state or properties. Your properties is nothing but the states.
Okay.
So what I'm telling you, for every object, if you see, for every
Mm.
object you have two things. One is state, one is behavior, one is
Yeah.
identity. Behavior
Yes.
means actions,
Yes. Yes.
action or the function. Behavior means. So
Yes.
identity is nothing but the name of
Yes.
that,
Mm.
and state is nothing but what your object is having. That is nothing but your state. So
Mm.
if you
So okay.
say
So for example, let's say okay. So in this case, what should be the state for employee? Can you give me an example?
yes, yes. So what I'm telling, your employee is nothing but your identity. So employee is
Employee.
nothing but my identity.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. So this is
Ide-
identity. Uh,
Identity. And state is nothing but the properties that an employee have. So what an employee will have the properties, employee ID and name and this address or something. These are nothing but the state,
oh,
right?
these are
Or
the state. Okay.
state, or I can say it as data members or properties. Everything is same. The terminologies are different. That's it. And what action that an employee do, what he do. So when you're an employee, you can create, you can update, you can code, you can do encoding. You said working, right? So working is what working, it is not the property, it is not nothing but your action, right? This is nothing but a
Yeah.
method.
Yeah.
Code.
This one I agree. I agree with that. But I like this one this one working is the behavior, right? Working is the behavior.
Yes,
It's
working is a behavior.
Yeah, this one I agree with you. But for the state, I like you said the employee ID and the name should be state, but I think it's not. It should be like a pro identity, right? Employee ID and name. That's like what I disagree with you. Like, but you mean it should be state?
Yes, yes.
Because in my mind, like a state should be like let's say unemployed. Let's for example like fired or hired. I think that's a state for the employee, right? And
Okay.
employee ID and the name should be type of identity for that employee. But just like from my understanding, from my point of view,
Okay. So if you
how
say
do you
fired,
think? Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. So.
okay, it's like we'll make a conclusion. So it's like not like you are wrong. It will be in a discussion only, and not like that.
Yeah, just
So
just want to just want to discuss with you because like from my mind like the state is like the status, right? Status of this employee. So it should be like let's say unemployed. The state is which means this employee is in
so
like just
what
yeah.
will be the state you are telling? What will be the state then?
Instead, for example, state like let's say unemployed is a state of this employee because the status is like this employee lost the job, so state is unemployed. So that's but for example the ID like a company employee ID and the name it be
Employed.
identity of this employee. So that's what I thought.
So employed means you're employed or you're hired,
Yes,
right?
yes. Yeah, just from my mind. Yeah.
Hired. So so you can consider this also the state. So it is like if you are not having any so these are also the states, but
Okay.
even
Mm,
will be also the state. So, but the point of
mm.
understanding here is nothing but what is the state or what is a data member or properties are nothing but what you have, what
Okay.
employee will have. So what employee will have? Employee will have an employee ID. So what employee will have? Employee will have the name, right?
Yes.
In that perspective, your EMP ID and name comes under state. If you see
Mm, mm,
here,
mm, mm.
by understanding, if you see a person, what a person will have also. So So if you are considering involved, cancelled, so you are taking this and you are saying fired and hired will be the state, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, but if you see this represents the data of an object. If you see this, what is a state? It represents the data of an object. So
Okay.
what your employee will have? Employee ID and name. What are they?
Okay.
They, but your data or not.
Okay. Okay.
Do you agree with me? And you can just read this. It represents the data of an object. Whether your
Okay.
ID represents the data, yes. Your name represents the data. Your what are this address, name, all these are nothing but your data, right? So these are
Yeah.
nothing but representing your object. These are nothing
Okay.
but your data. So that I am calling it as state.
Okay. Okay.
So identity is nothing but the object name. I'm calling that as an identity. Employee is nothing but the name. That is nothing but I'm calling it as an identity. What action? So your identity. So you can. It's like the way that you approach it, but the understanding of that concept is important. So what happens? You say EMP ID is nothing but you're telling it as nothing but your how employee can be identified in that prospect you are taking, and you are saying that as an identity. So when you think in that, it is fine, but even that id represents the data, right? So then it becomes a state also, it becomes identity also. It is not like it's wrong or it's right, but understanding the concept is important here.
Okay. So in this case, the employee should be the identity, right? In
Yes,
this case, the class, the like employee. So employee is the identity, and the employee ID and the name is should be the state.
yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And
Okay.
whatever the actions that you do, you are convinced, Mike, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And for example, you have an action called something like create, update. Some action was there for me. There was a method called an update. And what's the point here is nothing but your state gets changes by your behavior. So your behavior will change the state of an object. So as if you see, what is my state of an object? So my object is having employee ID and the name. And if I say what is the current state of an object will be, I'm telling by taking the data of the data which is present in an object. So what is the data? Employee ID and the name is the data which is present in my object. And what is the value of that? They are 0 and null. For example, when you declare any variable in Java, and if you don't initialize it, so if you see what is this is nothing but this is nothing but your declaration. You have not done the initialization. You are sorry, you have not done the assignment. So you have not given any value for them. So then when you give any value for a data type of int, it will be taking the default value as 0. So you are in the memory, your employee ID should hold some value, right? It cannot exist without having any value. So here
Yeah.
the value
Yes. Yes.
will be taking it as 0, and your so your name will be taking the value as null.
Now.
So once you create an object, what happens? That object gets created with the data that is having. So if you see what is the data your object is having, as of now your object is having EMP ID and name. So what is the values for that at? It will be 0 because it will be the initial value. We have not given anything, and the name will be null.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah.
So these
At
are nothing
it's the like initial value.
initial values.
Yes.
Without
Yes.
if you
Without
don't
without the assignment. If you don't assign any right, you
uh,
agree with that? Huh?
So when you do any when you don't do any assignment, it will take the initial values. They are nothing
Yes.
but
Mm.
zeros, as well as for string it will take it as null, right? And now what is the state of an object? If I say what is the state of an object, that is nothing but your, as you told you, as I told you, like your state is nothing but you tell that based on the uh, data which is present. Now the data is nothing but your ID and name. What are the values? Zero and null. So now this is the state of an object. Uh, are you confused, Mike? Or okay?
Uh,
What I
mm.
Are you
Uh,
okay with my point? So now the state of an object is with the ID and name, and I have an ID and name. What is the current state? Your ID is zero and your name is null, right? The values
yes.
for this nothing but
Mm.
name and null. So
Yeah. Yeah.
your behavior or your action. This update is nothing but your behavior or action, right? So my behavior or action will change the state of the object. So it means, for example, I will say in that update method, empid equals to some 3. What happens? Now when I change this, your employee ID value, 0 gets changes to
3.
3. Now who has changed the state of the object? So before the state is
State before the state is 0.
before the state is 0 and name value is null. Now the state is 3 and name value is now. Now what happens? The state of the object got changed. The data which is present in the object got changed. So who changed the data which is present in the object? But your behavior,
Yes.
right? With
Mm.
the help of the behavior, your state of the object gets changes. You understood the
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
State of the object changes by behavior. So can you give any real-time example? What is an identity? What is a state? And what is the behavior will change the state of an object? Any take any
Yeah.
object. As I told you an employee, right? Similarly, you take some object and tell what is
Okay.
an identity and what is the state in that object and what is the behavior and how your behavior is changing the state.
Okay. I think let's say a state, the identity, right? Identity, state, and behavior, right?
Hmm.
Identity.
Any object, any real-time object that you take.
Okay. For person, right?
Okay.
Person is the identity. Okay.
Yes.
Person is the identity, and state. State can be state can be state can be how to say okay, in my idea state can be idle is okay, can be a state idle, idle, idle,
IDO. What is the IDO?
sorry, idle, I think idle,
I
L, yeah,
ID.
le, no, id is state,
So you're taking so identity. Your person is an identity. So what I'm telling, what is the state? What your object is having. If you
oh,
say person,
so yeah,
that is
yes,
nothing. What a
yeah,
person will have. What are the
yeah,
properties or what?
yes, yeah, okay, state, okay. So identity is a person, state can be, let me see, state can be, person has, uh, its person can has its
So as we what we have, so what are the properties that we are having as a person? Like, so what we will have?
yeah, we have like a name, we have ID, right? We have ID, we have name, we have let's 6 different different we are like a male, female, right? Well, yeah, color, yeah, and the sex and the race also different
So
race
you
also.
well,
Mm.
erase whatever you say. What all
Yeah,
these are nothing but
mm.
states. What
States,
we have
yes.
are the state, and what are the actions that we do?
Action we can
Or the
do with
behavior.
mm,
What
uh,
behaviors?
yeah, we can, for example, we can run, right? Run, it should be the
Run.
action. Run,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes. Run, or you can do eat. All
Yes.
are nothing but the actions or the functions that we do, right?
Mm.
Sleep. And so, for example, when you want to change the, what I'm telling, your behavior will change the state of an object. So, for example, you want to change your name or color or something. You can just have in that method. What you do, you change that. For example, I'll have a method called run. So in that run, I'll change that ID. It's not like making you link that, but here I can change my ID. So this is my function, right? So in that function, I'll change that ID, right? So you just want to change the name. So I'll have a function called something like rename, or I am changing the name of my name. I'm just changing. So
Mm.
rename. What I'll do, I'll change the name. Whatever the name I have, I'll be changing.
Okay, sure.
So what I'm telling is nothing but your will, your behavior will change the state of an object. And
Mm.
a real example I just want to give with an account. I'm telling you a bank account. So this is nothing but my identity, right? And can you tell me what are the states that are present here, Mike?
State
Bank account.
like, yeah, like
Your
a state like a balance, right? Balance.
balance,
Yeah.
name,
Balance. Yeah,
your
and
name,
account number.
yes. So these are nothing but your states.
State.
What are
Okay.
the behaviors that you have here?
We like a deposit or withdraw, right? Deposit, withdraw.
Yes, deposit, withdraw.
These are actions.
So these are nothing but your actions. Now,
Yeah.
can you tell now your action or a state changes the, sorry, your action or the behavior will change the state of an object? Yes.
Yes, yes. This one is clear. Let's
Yes.
say if I deposit, so it will change the balance. So basically, balance will be up.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you
Let's
do
say yeah. Let's
your
say I yeah withdraw will reduce the balance.
Yes. So now what is happening? Your balance, your state of an object is changing by
Mm.
your action. Can you able to connect with the real-time example, right?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, uh, can you Suya, could you please go back to that PPT? I also want to take also look at the example just to be yeah, to get a good well understanding. So person, okay. Oh yes, yes. We have you see like the first row is a similar the example as I give. So
Yes.
identity is the name, right? And the
Yes. Yes.
state and the behavior, he can walk, read, speak, or run. That's true. And the state is let's say presents the data of object, present the
Yes.
data. So starting, resting, qualified. Okay, identity, state, name. Okay, and we say can be state, can be name and ID, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, can be name and the right name and
So you
ID.
can actually you can take whatever you take. So you can take the state as nothing but the properties, or you can take, for example, if you see person studying, resting. So as you say that employee that fired, hired, all that comes also in a state, right?
Okay.
At this
Mm,
point. And
yeah,
if you see the person, so for example, he's studying, right?
yeah,
And what
yeah,
you do, the behavior, what you do, if you play, your state gets changes.
yeah. Here just 1 point, Suya. But in the identity, it use the name. You see, like, but it's like I'm a
Okay.
kind of yeah, a little bit confused. Like,
Okay, my favorite button. Okay, while denim shirt. Okay, so here this also can be the identity. So the identity can be in two ways. So which will be telling you, for example, in EMP ID. So your ID is also, you can consider that as an identity, as well as you can consider that as a state.
okay, okay.
As you tell, as you told, for example, a shirt here. So they are considering that is nothing but your identity.
Mm,
For
mm.
example, your my favorite button while denim shirt. So they are considering that as an identity, and you are here. So it specifies, as you told. In that case, they are specifying your whatever the actions that they are doing it. So the you can do it in both ways actually.
Okay, okay,
So if you see this definition, they are telling you it represents the data of an object. So at the final is nothing but your understanding that whole point is very important.
okay. Represent the data. Okay, okay,
So
okay.
here
Yeah.
the
Mm.
data, if you see the same number, so this is nothing but the data of an object, as well as it helps as an identity.
Yes, yes. Present the data of object. My favorite button with listable to data. Okay, okay, data. And the state presents the data of okay, I see. And identity is used internally by JVM to identify each object uniquely. So that's identity.
So it's like how you
Oh.
call, for example, you call that employee by employee dot name.
Mm, mm,
Whenever you call, the JVM will call, it will call with the name actually,
mm.
employee name.
Presents the data. Okay, okay, yeah.
No. So as I told you, there are a lot of difference. You see Google it, you find a lot of difference between a class and but the whole point what we discussed actually. It's like
Mm.
instance, like a blueprint. It's a real entity. So for example, as I told you, if you want to develop an application for an organization, your employees are nothing but the objects. Your faculties are nothing but an object. So for example, for a college, you want to do an application, students are objects, faculty is an object, tutors are an object. So the real entity always an object.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Class,
So
yeah, yeah, class.
the
Yeah,
class,
I see.
the
Mm.
class you write a different. So you just read out if you want. It's not required me to read it because you can just go through that difference if you want. You have
Yeah,
any
sure.
doubt about differences? You can ask me.
Okay, yeah, sure, sure. Just can we have this like at some time you will email us those like documents?
Okay, you want to email this documents? I'll do that.
Okay, yeah, sure, sure. If you can, yeah, yeah, if you can, yeah, sure, sure. Oh, by the way, I will. Can I type the my email address to you, like here?
I think I have, right. Already you have sent your mail to me. Some mail you have sent for me, right?
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. That's true. Okay, okay. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah,
Uh,
I
it,
forgot.
it
Yeah,
was,
I think I
uh,
sent to you.
yes,
Okay. Yes. Mm.
I have yours mail ID.
Okay. 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 Yeah.
I'll be forwarding to that.
Yeah.
So
I
in a
think
class,
class and object very clear. So class is like it's like how to say? It's like a type of like a group of something, like a group of something. But object is like a real example, right? It's something like that.
Yes. In a class, you will write a number of objects you create. For example, you take employee. So in an organization, you don't have one employee. You will have hundreds
Mm.
of employees. All that
Yeah, yeah,
hundreds are nothing but
yeah,
your objects, and every
yeah,
object will have unique name. So your employee, every employee will have unique name, right? And every employee will have unique ID, right? So the
yeah.
name may be same, but the ID will be different, and but they are unique as well. So the
Yeah.
address and everything.
Mm. I think
So
like to give you an example, like a class in my like for example, class can be, let's say, animal, and I think, right,
sorry,
can be
class can
class can be like for example, class can be not animal. It's not good. Like a class can be a cat. Cat is a class, I think, right? Cat.
yes, yes,
And the object can be like a specific a type of cat. It can be a object, or let's say like a black cat. Black cat can be object, and the class is cat because there are all types of cats cat in the right.
yes, yes,
That's for like I think that's an example, good example, right?
yes, 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 Mike. Uh, you can have n number of examples like that actually. So if you see, object will create memory will be created for an object. For a class, you don't create a memory. And how you create an object is nothing but using a new keyword. If you see, that is a syntax of an object: the class name, reference variable, and a new keyword and a constructor. And how you write a class and the variable. So you can create a class in different way, but object in different way, but class in only one. Mike?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So what you told also, that is also an example. So you can have a number of examples. And the real understanding is very important. And we go further, you may get more clarity on it actually again.
Yes, yes. I think, yeah.
Uh, as of now, you are clear.
Yes, yes.
So every program will have a main method. So for in C also you have a main method. So similarly in Java also you had a main method. So this is your this is the syntax of your main method. So if you see public, as I told you, you can see that public here also. In the starting slide also you have a public. So what I said, this is a modifier or this is a specifier. So we'll have that concept, then you understand. And you will have a reason for why they have given public. You have 4 access specifiers, and I'll tell you why they have given public as an access specifier. And static is nothing but your keyword. So you have two kinds of methods: one is static method and one more is non-static method. So once we discuss, I'll tell you why the main method is static. You'll understand why the main method is static. So once we
Okay,
discuss
okay.
access specifiers, you'll understand why the main method is public. So this is a syntax, but you should understand why the reason the syntax was like this, right? And you now you know one the reason why it is void, because after completing a execution of
No,
your
no
main
return.
method,
No
you
return.
are you cannot return anything, right? So that's the
Mm.
reason it is void. And the name main is nothing but a main method. So because the program starts from there, they have given the main as a method name. So similarly in C also you have a main method, because when you write a huge 1,000 lines of code you write, but from where it has to start? It has to start from the main method. Your compiler will call only the main method. So from that main method, it is your responsibility to call all the remaining methods, right? And
Yeah.
this is nothing
Mm,
but parameters. As I told you, you have the parameters yesterday also we discussed.
mm.
So string and array of a string actually. So I think you know what is an array: a group of similar data types,
Yes, yes. Mm.
right? So this is nothing but an array of string and a simple program, Java program. I'll just write. So this is nothing but an access specifier. I'm telling, as I told you, and the class and the name of the class, and I'm opening the class and I'm closing the class, and I have a main method inside that. It's like I'm printing that. So a simple hello world program that you see in most of the beginnings. So this is nothing but a package. So once we discuss the package concepts, you get this. So whatever the word that you see, I'll be when after discussing that, I'll come back over here, or you can understand it very clearly again.
Okay.
Okay. So this is how you write. So how the program flow. This is the program flow. It gets executed. So for example, I written a class and write a main method. So main is nothing but the name of the my class, and I'm opening the class, and I'm just closing my class over here. And inside my class, what I'm having a main method, and I opened my main method and I closed my main method. So what happens first? What happens? Your compiler will call this main method. In this main method, what I'm calling one more method. That is nothing but my function. So whenever the my function is get called, your this is nothing but you're calling the method. So your method, your compiler comes over here and it starts executing. So what happens? It executes this flow. So after executing this flow, where it has to return the place from where it called. From where it called from the main method. So where it will go? Again, it will go to the main method. And if there is no execution here, it will come out of the flow. So it will come where it has been called. It has called from the JVM. So again, it will go to the JVM and everything will be shown to you. So this is the simple flow. Is it clear, Mike?
Yes, yes.
So you write 100 or thousands or any lines of code. This is the flow that you whatever how many lines your code will come to the main. You need to follow the flow. That's it. So you it will call the main method. So from the main method, it is your responsibility to call any other method that is present in your class. So from this you call that method, and that method executes. After executing, where it will come, where it will go, it will go to the method from where it called, right? So for example, you have a huge function. So it is like when you want to do some huge functionality, huge function, you will have some organizer. What an organizer will do, what he will be telling some action to perform for someone, and he will tell some action to perform for someone. So for example, any event was happening. In that event, you have a lot of functions like a dancing, singing, and everything. So in that, you have a leader or an event. That leader is nothing but your main method. So the leader will start. So from that leader, so what happens whenever there is a dancing? So you have a dancing method, you have a singing, so that you have some organizer. So what happens from there? It will start. So if he does some action, that action will be completed. After completing that action, the dance or some person again comes to the organizer. Similar way, it's like you have a whole long program. In that long program also, long event also, your main method is a pause. So your program first starts from the main method, and you have one task. So what happens? You from that you from main method you will call that task, and the task gets completed. After completing, where it has to return? It has to return to the main method or the from where it has been called. So again, it will return it, and it will call some other function. The flow will be the same. Is it clear, right, Mike?
Yeah, yes, yes.
So,
Yeah, I think yeah.
sorry, it's time.
Yeah, it's a time.
Okay, that's what. Just remind me when it happens. So, I think you will be getting the recording of this, and I'll ask. So, you didn't got the recording of yesterday's session, right?
No, no, no. Yeah, I will. I will ask Anita for that. And yeah, we will, as planned, we will connect tomorrow at 10 a.m. Right? My time, like.
Okay, 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Okay, it will be 7:30 for me. Fine.
Yeah, yeah. If you have anything, please just like WhatsApp me, then we can adjust that. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I'll update you if any changes.
Okay, okay. Okay,
Okay.
thank you, thank you for today, Suya. So we will connect tomorrow.
Okay, okay, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Bye.
day.
You too. Bye.